If you didn't already know about this piece of news, then where in the world have you been? But I'm pretty sure everyone that watches my show is already aware that Australia, and more specifically, Anthony Albanese and only Anthony Albanese and, well, really his cabinet of dingbats have decided to reward terrorists. They've decided to reward Hamas, and they really think that this is going to isolate Hamas by recognizing a Palestinian state. Amazing, isn't it? Now, this was met with praise from many dingbats from the UK to Canada to France to Portugal to many of the countries that, to me, just seem like they love virtue signaling to this small little minority group with a very loud voice. Anthony Albanese just wants to be seen like he's part of something. And what is he part of exactly? The destruction of Australia. He's an absolute laughing stock. The vast majority of Australians that know what's going on do not agree with what Anthony Albanese just did. And even some politicians, many politicians, I should say, that have their heads screwed on straight. I'm talking about Pauline Hanson, for example, who released a media statement in lieu of Anthony Albanese coming out and saying, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state. This is going to isolate Hamas. Then you know what Hamas did? They went on and celebrated Anthony Albanese's decision. Yes, the co-founder of Hamas actually celebrated our fearless prime minister. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? So you really think Hamas cares about Australia? No, what Anthony Albanese did, ladies and gentlemen, was he gave into Hamas. What he gave into was terrorism. He rewarded terrorists with exactly what they wanted. This is what they've been wanting from the very beginning, for useful idiots to do their bidding. And guess what, Anthony Albanese? You did just that. Oh, I've had talks with, cabinet ministers and people around the world, other leaders, and we've all decided that it's time. It's time that the Palestinian people have a state of their own, but we're going to be working towards a two-state solution. Good grief. We're going to be working towards a two-state solution, people. Absolute dingbat. Pauline Hanson is basically saying what many Australians, and I'm like, why don't we have her as our prime minister? Just saying. All states must pledge to guarantee the security of Israel, and the occupied territories must be completely cleansed of any terrorist influence or presence before Australia can recognize a Palestinian state. But you know what? Anthony Albanese has forgotten all about that, or more or less, he can't care less about that. Instead, we're going to reward them. Now's the time to reward the terrorists that are still in positions of power and still have the hostages. Yeah. Well, bloody done, Albanese. One Nation leader, Senator Pauline Hanson, said One Nation would not support the Albanese Labor government's surrender to terrorism, extremism in its plan to recognize a Palestinian state. It plays directly into the hands of terrorists like Hamas and their backers, the oppressive and regressive Iranian regime. At least we've got one politician that has got her brain screwed on straight, and at least she's got the guts and the balls to call it for what it really is. Why isn't she the prime minister? Why have we got a dingbat of a leader that just decides to pander to the likes of terrorists? I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I'm fed up with it. I didn't vote for the dingbat. And I cannot stand what he's done to Australia. He's ruining Australia. Its cultural identity, you name it. It's all going down the drain. Because all he could care about is how it looks. Not standing up for Australia. You're going to say, oh, Australia's a sovereign country. The Trump, America, our closest ally, you're going to try and ostracize them and make them angry. And this is just going to annoy Trump even more. You're just basically digging a grave even further with our actual allies and siding with people that don't care less about us. You know what I'm talking about? Hamas, China, France. They could not care less. But let's cozy up to them. Let's make trade deals with China. When push comes to shove, you're useless, mate. And you're making Australia look like an absolute laughingstock. It's shameful for many Australians to wake up and have someone that, yes, was elected go, oh, we need to recognize the Palestinian state. Meanwhile, Hamas is still in power. They won't surrender. Why is it that no one seems to be going, no, Hamas needs to surrender, not Israel? Why is no one doing that? Why is it always up to Israel to give up, but not Hamas? Oh, according to Tucker Carlson's guest, Mada Jiba, or whatever, Hamas is just there to protect their people. They're not trying to commit jihad. No. They're not trying to do anything bad. They're not going over into America and trying to kill anyone. No, they're not trying to do anything bad at all. Then how about the protests, man? How about some of the deaths we already have seen? How about in their very founding charters what they're really about? Oh, okay. We just meant to ignore that. And that is the kind of organization Anthony Albanese just rewarded. He basically got his hand and smacked the faces of pretty much every single ally and every single Jewish person in Australia and said, I do not care about any of you. I'm going to do what the small little minority group demands of me and protest considerably and go, now's the time. This is going to isolate them. They're not going to want any part of this. Have a watch of Anthony Albanese's speech.
Today I can confirm that at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September, Australia will recognise the state of Palestine. Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority. We will work with the international community to make this right a reality. Australia is making this statement today following our Cabinet meeting as part of a coordinated global effort building momentum for a two-state solution. Over the past fortnight, I have discussed this with Prime Minister Starmer, President Macron, Prime Minister Luxon and Prime Minister Ishaba, as well as Prime Minister Netanyahu last Thursday and President Abbas last Tuesday. A two-state solution is humanity's best hope to break the cycle of violence in the Middle East and to bring an end to the conflict, suffering and starvation in Gaza. The international community's vision for a just and lasting peace in the Middle East always encompassed two states, living side by side with internationally recognised borders, a state of Israel and a state of Palestine, with security for the people of both nations.
Now, I'm all for eventually, down the track, when Hamas is being dismantled and gotten rid of, I'm all for the Palestinian people having their own state, living side by side with Israel. I'm all for it. The reality, however, is that giving Hamas exactly what they want right now is not the answer. It's giving and playing into their very hands. It's not going to make Hamas want to surrender anymore because you know what? They're seeing the protests, they're seeing the propaganda, they're seeing people's reactions, they're seeing leaders' reactions. And they're going, we'll just stay here for a little longer. Why don't we? What's the point in leaving? What's the point in giving up the hostages? Because you know what? We're getting exactly what we want. We're getting it right now. Why wait? We don't need to go anywhere. We were elected, damn it. And all of the leaders are too stupid to see it. Starmer, Macron, everyone. And it's making Australia look like a laughingstock. Israel. I mean, Anthony Albanese going to Benjamin Netanyahu. Hey, BB, we're going to recognize the state of Palestine at the UN. You okay with that? No. Guess what? Bad idea. No, I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, I don't care about anything to do with Israel anymore. BB, you got to stop. This is from Senator Michaela. I forgot her last name, but the decision by the Albanese government to recognize the Palestinian state does not make the world a safer place, expedite the end of the conflict, deliver a two-state solution, see the free flow of aid, support the release of hostages, or put an end to the terrorist group Hamas. Mr. Albanese must explain how recognizing a Palestinian state does not risk rewarding and empowering terrorists. Well, he doesn't do that. He won't explain. Senator Namajimba Price says the Albanese government decision to recognize Palestinian statehood is impulsive, irrational, and ill-timed. Hamas's barbarism on October 7th single-handedly set back the goal of a two-state solution. The leaders of Hamas said they would repeat similar attacks until Israel is exterminated. It's in their bloody charter, for goodness sake. Until Hamas is defeated, a two-state solution isn't even conceivable, and there can be no peaceful future for the people of Gaza. Let's also not forget historical facts. In 2005, Israel withdrew entirely from the Gaza Strip, handing it over to the Palestinian Authority, and it had to relocate Jewish families in the process. In 2006, Hamas was elected to power. In 2007, Hamas seized control of Gaza. For the next 16 years, Hamas squandered the opportunity to support the Palestinian people and work towards a two-state solution. No, instead they built bloody tunnels. They have actively been working on this for a very, very long time. And our world leaders have given in to everything they want, handing it over to terrorists. Here you go. And by the way, I saw this ad on YouTube, by the way, End Israeli Apartheid, going sponsored post. You get a free poster, apparently, from Amnesty International. You want a free poster saying End Israeli Apartheid with a fist held up? These people are nuts. Honest to God, nuts. And yet our leaders want to support them. That should send chills down everyone's spine, shouldn't it? So the Hamas co-founder, Hassan Youssef, said he welcomed Australia's decision to recognize a Palestinian state and reject calls for the terror group to put down its arms. Well, how about that, Anthony Albanese? So your two-state solution, did it work? Or has it made things even worse? I think it's made things even worse. And by the way, can only imagine how the Jewish community must be feeling right now, eh? Now, I understand that this region and the diplomacy of it all is quite difficult. But goodness me, read the bloody room. Timing. Oh, Hamas is still in control. I don't care about that. Give the Palestinian people a state. Reward Hamas for all I care. Go for it. Do exactly what Macron and Starmer and the whole lot of the dingbats want. Let Islam take over the world. Bring them into our countries. Honestly, disgusting and insufferable, if you ask me. Well bloody done, Albanese. Well done. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.